Welcome to Partner 5 and 5. It's Robert here at Knight Solutions. I'm joined by Chris at DLP Manager. How are you doing, Chris?
Very well, thanks, Rob.
Excellent.
Thank you for having us.
Great to have you on board. I think
Yeah.
we're at number 14 or so in our Partner 5 and 5. So this is, really a casual conversation. Try and just introduce the product, get people sort of a first glance, or maybe they've heard of it, want to know a bit more. And obviously, with Knight Solutions here, we're really interested in the Procore connectivity, but we also want to explore the product itself. So 5 questions in 5 minutes. As I said before, we've yet to keep to 5 minutes, but we do try. So we'll try and move through it. But Chris, I got to admit, when I first heard about the product, I thought, well, Procore has a defects tool. What's this all about? So we'll try and unpack that as well, which I think would be really interesting. And I've certainly learned a lot chatting to you already, which is great. But let's jump in with the first question, which is always the all-important kind of framing it. Is what is the problem that DLP Manager is trying to solve for people out there in construction?
Yeah, so thanks, Rob. My background's been in construction, and I was in multiple handovers, and then sort of was also managed Lend-Lease's reputation maintenance, which is their sort of post-construction management for a couple of years, and saw the chaos of spreadsheets and multiple stakeholders.
Yeah.
Especially the unit owners, trying to keep everybody happy along the way whilst running a construction contract, which is still going for that warranty period as well. So we've developed a software that allows builders and developers to engage with their owners directly to manage that contractual from handover, pre-settlement inspections we'd like to start at, through that contractual warranty period, which is the 6 to and up to 10 years now.
Yeah, gotcha. So you're looking at the pretty broad process, and you mentioned obviously working at Lend-Lease, which would have been a pretty significant thing. We actually, one of my last couple of jobs in construction was building for Mirvac, who have, as far as I understand it and what I experienced, certainly was a really good, strong reputation there. But definitely going beyond the normal defects that the building company would look at. So it sounds like it's a much more holistic solution. So let's kind of drill in on the type of customers you have, like, they're builders, they're developers, who are they? And then if you can drill into that in a bit more detail, within those companies, what types of roles tend to be heavy users within DLP Manager?
Yeah, so our clients are developers and builders, either or. So they both have the same goal, which is making sure that that contractual warranty period is looked after by the end users, and making sure that any defects are rectified in a timely manner. So the company purchases software, and the project teams, depending on how the company is set up, their defects period. So sometimes the project team will look after it for a year till they get their retentions back, and then hand it over to the post-construction team. Sometimes the post-construction team take over it straight away. So we're flexible in the way that's worked. It's all permissions-based software. So owners will log defects directly into our platform, and that can be managed by those teams and straight to the subcontractors. So the subcontractors are in there as well. So we can get a defect from an owner, qualify it, so get that right information and get it to a subcontractor with automatic notifications in about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And the hard part of defect management is coordinating access and completing that defect and knowing when it's completed. So that's all done through the platform as well.
Yeah, awesome. And I think one of the big things, there's a few things that stand out, but one of the big things for me, as a contrast to how I've traditionally done defecting with Procore and many other systems I've used over the years, is the engagement from the owner's perspective. So if we're obviously large volume housing, units, apartments, all that sort of stuff, traditionally those systems don't really provide much opportunity for client input, but it's great that you kind of bring together the owner, or will be a renter, I guess, if it's a rental property, right through that chain as well. So their engagement definitely makes a lot of sense. And I like the idea of the qualification, because what you or I or someone else might call a defect might be a defect, might not, but at least there is an opportunity to then submit it and qualify it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Obviously there is some crossover potentially in the way, if you're listening to this now and you're a Procore customer and you're thinking kind of like I was originally before Chris kind of enlightened me, where is it going to sit with the Procore environment? So let's kind of jump to that side of things. If I've got DLP Manager and I get Procore, or the other way around, how do they kind of work together, and how does that integration work, and what sort of data moves back and forward?
Yeah, so we're not trying to compete with software during construction. There's lots of software during construction, and Procore do it very well. through to the defects. So in a construction, defects are logged through Procore and they're closed out through Procore. And it's then when the owner comes in that the owners can't get into Procore, so the end user, and they actually become sort of control the lead that process after they move in. So we give access to all the Procore customers, and they send all those open items that might be left at handover to DLP Manager. They get managed the system, and then all that data goes back. So what we're trying to do is make sure that the Procore project file is that one source of truth for the senior management and that company, all that data. And the defect team might use our platform to manage the process, but all that data they're collecting is going back to the Procore project file to make sure that the senior managers can put their finger on a button and know exactly what's happened in that project.
Gotcha.
Version 2 of the integration will also be the finance system. So a lot of back charges during construction, which are regularly lost, now will end up in the change orders for that commercial manager. So when they push the button to return their retentions, they know exactly what's happened over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's always a sticking point. The old, who's going to pay for the defects if it was, potentially, a bit of a complex situation, or who sort of, ship does it fall on, so to speak. So that's really good to know. I like the idea that that's connected for Procore defects, because the project team, obviously, as you said, during construction, they're going to be heavily invested in using Procore. We'd love to live in a world where everything is closed off before a customer moves in. It's not always possible, and anyone that's worked in construction can appreciate why, but knowing that those don't get kind of lost once DLP Manager comes in, that they all become part of a singular process, makes a lot of sense, plus the client coming in. And because often, that project team will often move on as well. They finish that project and they're more a delivery team, and the builder might bring in a maintenance kind of division that inherits that project, and it's different people. So having that DLP manager definitely opens an opportunity there for the more sort of maintenance and ongoing DLP period people to be involved as well.
And we get that a lot. The defects people also are very transient. They might be graduates. So it's a very transient job. So we want to make sure that project file is one streamlined flow of information to anyone that picks that up. So you can now just pick up the defect at 18 months and know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it is transient. Bloke in a van used to be the expression we used to use. As soon as you saw a van pull up, you knew it was almost always maintenance. So not so much the utes. But let's, conscious of time, let's jump on. So if this sounds good to someone and they say, hey, look, I'm definitely going to add DLP Manager into the mix for what I need to deliver projects, and obviously managing things after projects, what's the process for them, once they sign up? What's the implementation or rollout look like, and how do you support them? And what's kind of the ongoing support for customers, during using the product lifetime? So
we will sign up and sign a contract with that customer, and then would coordinate their profiles with their Procore profile, and they'll bring all their buildings across, all the buildings that are ready to come across. Yeah. Any defects open, sub-contractors. So that's take you 15 minutes to create that building. Okay. Great. And then get those owners in that project file as well, and then you're away. The owners will start logging defects, you'll start getting notifications, and you can manage those through. So it doesn't take long to implement a building. It sounds like a pretty light load then for someone. Like, it's not like a product that needs a huge amount of configuration and years of experience to set up. Is that fair to say? No, that's right. I like to keep things pretty simple. Yeah. No, well, unfortunately, in a good way, Procore is definitely not like that. There's a lot of stuff under the hood, but I think it's really attractive with integrations because, it's got a very specific purpose, DLP Manager, and knowing that you can bring it on board pretty quick. And it's obviously, I'm assuming, a pretty, quick learning curve as well. That's really great. But if we're using a DLP Manager long-term, there's a support email, phone, how does that kind of work? Yeah, so we've got dedicated customer success for our customers. So they have full in-house phone support, email support. Inside the systems are all the user guides, videos to do absolutely everything. But we're here to make sure that it's successful within that company, and they use it as a sort of post-construction management strategy going forward. Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. Well, we exceeded our 5 minutes, but we got one more question, so let's fit it in. You kind of hinted at this before, and this is always my kind of
don't know if I'd say my favorite question, but I'm always very interested. So you mentioned that, as far as the integration with Procore, there might be the addition of financial side of things. And I'm happy to have the discussion beyond the Procore integration, but just generally, if you went 6, 12, 18 months, even a couple of years forward, what do you see DLP Manager as a product, adding or refining or consolidating or sort of, updates in the product that you're planning?
Yeah, so we've got a product development plan, which is including and coming out a new feature in the next week, which is a scope of works, which will allow remedial builders and other builders to manage their remedial projects. But also for defects, a greater defect such as a bathroom replacement, including hold points. So really documenting that down.
Okay, that sounds great.
And then we've got the version 2 of the Procore integration, and then we're keeping our eye on machine learning and some AI stuff later in the year.
Yeah, that's
try and streamline that process for the builder and the developer.
That sounds like some really valuable additions. So definitely looking forward to seeing that grow. It's already I've seen it already a pretty impressive product. So those additions are going to be great. And it sounds like you guys are making a bit of an impact, as I'd say. So some pretty high profile customers and some everyday customers as well signing up for it, which is great. So we'll give everyone some links and information, check you guys out more, but really appreciate the time you spent with us, Chris. I think we definitely went over the 10 minutes, but I've really enjoyed the chat. And we'll make sure everyone's got some information, catch up, and we'll definitely catch up again soon. So thank you very much for your time, Chris.
Pleasure, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.